Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Power Up Podcast. We are starting at 8 today since I got home a little bit earlier than normal. So, yeah. And this time around, we are live just on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Um, I don't know. Kick and Twitch don't really get a whole lot of views over there in terms of like the podcast show. Gaming will still do the big five, but I think for maybe for the shows right now, we'll just do with stick with Rumble, YouTube, and X. But how you guys doing today? Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are doing well. We got some articles pulled up here, more Cracker Barrel information, as well as some Harry Potter info. We got that, and amongst other articles as well. It'll be fun for those of you new to the show that may arrive later or have never heard of the show before. We talk pop culture. I'm just another guy, a super elite ginger host, specifically, just throwing that out there, who gives his 2 cents amongst many others in the world and throwing it out there in the world of pop culture. We take a look at anything that, catches our interest: video games, YouTube, anime, all that stuff. And, keep ourselves up to date, sharp, see how we're doing. Excuse me, and hopefully rekindling that nostalgic spirit and at least reminding us that there is still good in video games and all that. We could still be entertained for entertainment's sake. And of course, right at the beginning, I get a scratch in my throat and everything is terrible. Everything is awful. There we go. Clean that up there. So nothing but professionalism on this show that I provide. Top quality all day, every day, forever, because I am the best. My goal is to at least build a retro community, whether that's, video games or anime or what have you. I'd like to be the number one retro gaming channel and pop culture commentary in the world, because why not? Because why not? Now, you might be saying there's plenty of better people out there. This is true. But like I said, I mean, you're dealing with a ginger here. You're dealing with a super elite. So why would you not choose to spend your time with me? But appreciate everybody, humbled and blessed that, people decide to hang out here. And also, if I see some spiritual warfare elements or stuff involving scripture and faith and whatnot, I'll also talk about that and study that as well, and I'll share that with you guys. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of craziness happening in pop culture, and a lot of it does stem from scriptural elements. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop in. Now, we know that there's a Gears of War, I believe it's called Emergency Day video game that's coming out here. But they also did Gears of War Reloaded. And apparently, it's not doing so hot. Got Gears of War Reloaded fails to break even 5K concurrent players on Steam debut. That ain't good. And I want to say it's, like it said, it's just called Reloaded, so I think it's just Gears of War 1. Its announcement came as a huge surprise a few months ago. Not only did Xbox confirm, this comes from Tech for Gamers, by the way, website. Not only did Xbox confirm the series' debut on PlayStation, but it also revealed that the franchise would be heading to Steam for the first time. Needless to say, fans were excited to return to the series' roots. Many even expressed excitement for the returning multiplayer mode, but it seems the game's release has not lived up to the buzz, at least on Steam. Thanks for subscribing, Julius Cruz. Because Gears of War's multiplayer has not been relevant for many years, fans were expected to revisit the latest rendition of the IP in big numbers. But apparently, according to SteamDB, the game has failed to even reach 5,000 concurrent players on the platform. Nearly 24 hours after the game's release, it still sits on a concurrent peak of roughly 5K players, 4,819. Dang. At the time of this article. The game's player base is split across multi-platforms, and Game Pass likely accounts for a large portion of the players on PC, but many expected higher player counts on Steam due to the multiplayer. It was established. It established a massive multiplayer community as early as 2006. I was one of those people in that community. My friend and I, we would play Gears way into the night back in the 360 days. Ugh, good times. So many legacy players were expected to return for this re-release. Unfortunately, it seems that that has not been the case, and the reviews on Steam are also far from spectacular. So 641 reviews, only 49 are positive. Ugh. Seems most of the negativity revolves around persistent crashes that are plaguing a large chunk of the PC audience. Anyhow, Gears of War Reloaded could still show better numbers once the weekend rolls around. Given how popular the series was on the Xbox 360, a few more players may join the game soon. Oh, E-Day, that's what I was talking about. This should help stir interest in the franchise ahead of Gears of War E-Day, the upcoming prequel set to launch next year, introducing a whole new generation of players to the long-running Xbox IP. So, yeah. I mean, because you had Gears of War, then you had, Gears of War on Game Pass. Then I have the reload copy of Gears of War Remastered. That came with a bunch of free games, like on a disc. That game is actually pretty sweet for the deal that you got back in the day. And now you have this reloaded to where it's now going multi-platform, to which, I mean, Gears was definitely a huge part of my gaming during the 360 days because either people were playing Halo or they were playing Gears of War. I played Gears of War. Oh, hey, Fuzzy Pickle. What's up, dude? Over on Rumble with Frog. Yes. How you doing, brother? Hope all is well. But other than that, it is kind of disheartening to see that a whole lot of people are not playing Gears of War. But if everything based on what this article says in terms of the negativity of it, and it's because of like the PC crashes and stuff, then it's understandable. Hopefully those numbers will tick up. I stopped playing Gears of War after 3. I tried playing 4 and I didn't get into it, and then it kind of went down the woke side of stuff. So I wasn't really interested, so I've heard. But to me, Gears of War 1 through 3 is an excellent trilogy. I would recommend people getting it. But there's some Gears of War news for you. So on the last show, this comes from Niche Gamer here. On the last show, we've got Atari. On the last show, I showed Atari is kind of like prepping up for a lot of stuff to be coming out. They're, rebranding their rights. And apparently, they've acquired rights to 5 Ubisoft titles. So we've got Cold Fear, which I've actually heard before. I actually remember seeing a lot of this game like back at a GameStop at my home state, just being displayed up there. So interesting about Cold Fear. I Am Alive is actually pretty good. I revisited that game a couple years ago, and it's one of those games that is interesting because it's like a post-apocalyptic scenario, and there's a lot of dust and stuff. So a lot of it has to do with staying out of the dust, having clean air, and then the fighting mechanism was interesting because you could get weapons, but you only had a certain amount of clips, and you had to either try to see if you can intimidate people to like pretty much get them to do what you want to do or whatever you need to do, or they'll call your bluff, and then it would be like, okay, I've got to utilize, there's X amount of people that I need to take out. Like, how am I going to do this? I want to go back and play through them at some point. It's a good series. It is. It is a gritty series, but my goodness, is it amazing. So you had Cold Fear, I Am Alive, Child of Eden, which I've heard as well, Grow Home, and Grow Up from Ubisoft. So the new acquisition was made with the goal of re-releasing the games under their label and exploring opportunities to, quote, expand their reach through updated formats, news content, and contended distribution channels. Millions of players have experienced these worlds over the years, and this will open up the door for longtime players to revisit those memories while inviting new audiences to discover them for the first time, says Deborah Papernick, vice president of new business, in a press release. Atari has a rich gaming legacy and deep appreciation for these classic titles. We're excited to see how they'll evolve and connect with players in fresh, meaningful ways. Well, I'm hesitant because a lot of the modern games have not done so well. Atari chairman and CEO Wade Rosen added, Ubisoft and Atari both have a legacy of crafting worlds that players can fall in love with. Well, yeah, games that resonate with generations of players, not for how they played, but for how they made us feel. We're excited to reintroduce these titles while also exploring ways to expand and evolve these franchises. Well, Ubisoft back in the day, yeah. Ubisoft now, that's a whole different story. That story, that one's Ubisoft nowadays is hot garbage. Ah, that was the end of that article. I found this article here very, very interesting. And it involves AI and how that can kind of be in connection with fair use. So Anthropic settles AI copyright lawsuit over piracy claims after judge upholds fair use for purchased works. A new article on AI Central is up regarding the recent Anthropic settlement from Fandom Pulse. I think that's where I pulled this from. So I guess technically, I don't know if this is a Fandom Pulse. But in any case, so the Anthropic has reached a settlement in its high-profile copyright lawsuit with book authors, avoiding a potentially costly trial while maintaining the legal precedent that training AI models on legitimately purchased works constitute as fair use. I actually think this is quite a big deal. That is absolutely crazy. So yeah, if what you're using is based on the copy that you legally purchased, then yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you can do whatever you want with it. That's why I think it's crazy that Nintendo thinks they have the right to brick your Switch 2 console because they think you're sailing the 7 seas or whatever. The settlement addresses valid concerns about piracy while preserving the fundamental right of AI companies to learn from legally obtained content. The lawsuit filed by authors Andrea Bartz, Charles Graeber, and Kirk Wallace Johnson originally claimed that Anthropic violated copyright laws by training its Claude AI models on their work. However, the case took a decisive turn in June when Judge William Alsup ruled that training AI models on legally purchased books counts as fair use under copyright law. So even though this is books, the fact is that a judge ruled on the fact of, yeah, if you legally bought something and you're using AI to manipulate it in some way or shape or form, that falls under fair use because it's your product. It's no longer the other person's product. You bought it. This is an article from yesterday, by the way, so this is up to date, even though it said that the July, like the case was in July. So Judge Alsup's ruling established legal precedent by recognizing that AI training operates similarly to human learning process. Interesting. Just as human authors read extensively within their genres to understand narrative structures, character development, and stylistic conventions, AI models analyze text pattern to generate original content. The judge correctly identified this as transformative use that benefits society through technological advances. Wow. I'm surprised that a judge actually had a solid mind in thinking about that. Normally, we see a lot of judges be retarded, to say the least, in terms of understanding the law, especially if it's like a boomer judge. Ugh. The settlement announced Tuesday with terms expected to be finalized September 3rd specifically addresses the remaining piracy allegations. The parties involved did not release any of the details of the settlement. Judge Alsup had ruled that while training on purchased books was legal, Anthropic's alleged use of shadow libraries like LibGen to obtain copyrighted works without payment constituted potential piracy that could proceed to trial. Well, I don't know. If there's a way to preserve these books, you know, that's one thing. This distinction is important and legally sound. There's a clear difference between training AI and legitimate purchase content and using pirated materials obtained through illegal distribution networks. Anthropic's willingness to settle the piracy claims demonstrates behavior or responsible behavior while maintaining the principle that AI training on legal content should be protected. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that, but then again, if we're talking about like trying to preserve stuff, and I mean, and sometimes the only way to preserve stuff is to literally pirate stuff, that can be, to me, that's debatable. Especially when a company, you know, like Nintendo getting all butthurt over people pirating their like ROMs and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, if you released it exactly how it was back in the day, like people would buy it, people would snap it up. But for some reason, they just don't. Nintendo doesn't seem to care about video game preservation. And then when you find that anything associated with Nintendo, I think Nintendo has like a video game museum, or it's like functioned by a video game museum. And then they'll have displays that you can play like the video games and stuff. Someone went there and found out that they were running ROMs and emulators. So clearly they don't care about that sort of stuff. It's just, you know, their IP and all that stuff. But then it's like, well, you buy a ported version of Mario 3 on like the Wii U shop back in the day, and then you buy it again, or you play it on the new Switch subscription, and there's still differences between the two. It's not an exact one for one. Then yeah, people get upset about that. It's like, why can't you just get it right? Like that stuff still gets people upset about. But anyway, as long as they control it, they don't mind emulation. Says Fuzzy Pickle. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I have problems with Nintendo in general, especially with how they're, to me personally, they're ruining the gaming bubble. Which you could even argue that the gaming bubble is going to pop soon, just because everything has gone crazy. Everyone wants to have realism, and they'll sacrifice story and you know, enjoyment and entertainment to have a message inside and have it be a glorified walking simulator along with it. Let's see, where was I? The company has consistently positioned itself as leader in AI safety and responsible development. Founded by former OpenAI researchers, including Dario Omide and Danielle Omide, Anthropic focuses on building AI systems that are helpful, harmless, and honest. Well, I also have my thoughts on AI as well, because it cannot be used for that. Their constitutional AI approach trained model to follow a set of principles designed to make them more beneficial and less likely to produce harmful output. Anthropic's Claude AI model has gained recognition for their sophisticated reasoning capabilities and safety features. Unlike some AI companies that prioritize rapid deployment over careful deployment, Anthropic has invested heavily in research to understand and mitigate potential risks associated with advanced AI system. As long as they're not being used to like house unclean spirits and stuff, then I don't have a problem with AI. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of where we're going if we're getting to the end times. Because, you know, Days of Noah, it's going to be coming back, and it's going to be insane. And we're already starting to see it with, you know, the shooter at Minnesota, the Minnesota Catholic shooting. I mean, I'm 100% convinced that guy was demonically possessed. The settlement allows Anthropic to continue developing AI technology without uncertainty of a trial that could result in damage exceeding $1 trillion. Oof. According to some estimates. More importantly, preserve the legal framework established by Judge Alsop's fair use ruling, which provides clarity for the entire AI industry. The outcome benefits both AI development and content creator. AI companies gain legal clarity about accepting training practices, while authors retain protection against actual piracies of their work. I mean, but this is the other thing too. If they went and they got books that a piracy distribution system was using, well, go after the company. See, this is kind of like what they tried to do back in the day, when the early 2000, you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal stuff. Like piracy is, if we're talking about downloading stuff. But then you had these gaming companies telling you that you don't actually own any of your digital products. So it's like, well, if us buying it like we would a physical copy is not considered owning it, then me downloading it is not considered stealing it, if we want to play that game. Oh, thanks for the repost, Fuzzy Pickle. Yeah. Again, none of this wouldn't be an issue if obviously, whoops, hit the wrong button. If a lot of it was, again, widely available and at a reasonable price. But then, of course, you've got licensing issues and all that stuff. If we're talking like video games, like the musics and stuff. Is this pretty much, yeah, just ending off. It benefits both AI development, content creator. Cases still loom for companies like Meta, who allegedly have extensively trained their AI on pirated work. This outcome will surely be a bellwether for a direction of legal cases like that in the future. But see, that's very broad, though, pirated work. Like, you told the system to go out and search stuff, and they found stuff that people pirated online and then use that. If that's the case, then it's not, the company's fault if the system just went out and found a pirated version. Now, if they're getting pirated stuff and then doing it, then yeah. All right, so there's that. So I think this is actually a pretty good win in terms of understanding what can be used for AI. Okie doke. Hopping on over to Bounding into Comics. So developer Ilphonic releases trailer for their next slasher adaptation, Halloween the Game. So I'm interested in that. I wouldn't say I'm a big horror genre fan, but I did enjoy the Halloween OGs. Those are pretty good. Developers Ilphonic and Gun Interactive announced their next journey endeavor into the world of asymmetrical gaming at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany last Wednesday. An adaptation of John Carpenter's immortal 1978 slasher Halloween. Only till Ilphonic to release a trailer for it the following day on YouTube, giving fans a taste of the evil that's to come in their home in 2006. Or 2026, excuse me. Man, I wish we were back in 2006. Oh, man. So in partnership with Compass International Pictures, Further Front, and John Carpenter taking his rightful cut as producer, this immersive stealth-based horror. Okay, interesting, stealth-based. I mean, that makes sense. If you're playing Michael Myers, then yeah. I mean, he just appears out of nowhere behind you, and next thing you know, you're pinned up against a door. We'll take players back to the town of Haydenfield on Halloween night in 1978, the night Michael Myers came home. It will feature single and multiplayer modes, give the option to either don the mask, move through the shadows while wreaking bloody havoc on residents on the fictional Illinois town, or to reverse the role and spend the entire night running from the knife-wielding shape of Samahan. Yeah, I think in the original credits, he was just known as The Shape. As Michael, the synopsis reads via scene, players wear the mask, become the boogeyman, and stalk innocent residents with relentless obsession. Utilizing a nightmarish array of abilities, Michael leverages shadows and stealth to satisfy his bloodthirst. This doesn't mean Haydenfield is going down without a fight. Frightened townsfolk will call the local authorities and even fight back when threatened, incentivizing Michael to avoid detection. Yeah, the reason I brought this up because it makes me feel a lot like that Friday the 13th video game that they released. So as a hero of Haydenfield, it continues, it's your job to alert residents of Haydenfield to the impending evil and help them escape before falling victim to Michael's unyielding pursuit. Dynamic and ever-changing 1 versus 4 asymmetrical multiplayer matches. Hero players must arm themselves with everyday household items, weapons, and knowledge to combat an unpredictable and unkillable enemy. Convincing town folks and contacting the police will lead to increasingly powerful and thorough neighborhood patrols. See, I'm interested because I'm wondering if they're going to try to give Michael here like supernatural abilities. I think I saw Halloween 1 and 2. I didn't continue after that, and I know they kind of got to like the whole occult aspects. Mr. Matthews says, so basically it's the Friday the 13th game with the Halloween skin. That's what I just pointed out too. I'm like, it sounds exactly like the Friday the 13th game. What's up, Mr. Matthews, by the way? Over on the YouTubes. So to even the odds, command equip NPCs, weapons to outsmart, overpower the shape, providing previous or precious windows to escape. Ilphonic, who developed Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, Predator, Hunting Ground, and the most recent Killer Clowns from Outer Space continue making their rounds through popular 80s titles, but they show no signs of slowing down. The company's COO, Jared Guritens, doesn't appear to be taking any of it for granted and is full of a more free-for-all joy than a trick-or-treater whose parents dropped them off in a rich neighbor's kid or neighborhood or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to skip down. So this one guy apparently is, he's enthusiastic about it. We've always had people on the team who are deeply enthusiastic about being a part of it. Oh, here you go. A lot of gamers don't share Guretz's enthusiasm. That's because they remember the last time Ilphonic teamed up with Gunn Interactive to develop an asymmetrical horror game, and it was the short-lived Friday the 13th of the game. It was plagued with disconnects, mic problems, lag, glitches, and instant kill issues before finally being discontinued on December 31st of last year. Mr. Matthews says, I like that game. I wouldn't even have a problem with that. Then there's the recently deceased Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. One Redditor with a funky name simply stated that the game is going to be discontinued after a year or two over on that even funkier platform. Oh, they're talking about Reddit, and his name is Difficult Breath 9469. Think I know what they're getting at, but oh. All right, but here we are. Let's check out this trailer. Oh gosh, I probably got copyright struck on that one.
A quiet town, just like hundreds of other small towns all across
So final game footage is not recommended, is not official or whatever. You get it.
On October 31st, 1963. No motive, no warning, no provocation.
No provocation.
Senseless death. I met him 15 years ago. I thought there was hope, that he could be reached. But what I met was not a child. No emotion. Perhaps not even human. 15 years later,
I was gonna say, are we gonna get some action here? I'm also curious if they're gonna have blood, because the original Halloween, I believe, didn't like show any like blood or anything. I know the what's his name, the one guy who redid Halloween, he made it more bloody.
You can't stop him.
There he is.
You can't reason with him. You can't kill the boogeyman.
Yeah, he gets shot in the face, stabbed in the eye. Oh, okay. All right. Probably got struck with copyright. I don't know. But there you go. I mean, it looks interesting. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't like see any actual like gameplay, but yeah. Oh well. All right. Another tech for gamer here. So Capcom is considering releasing a Resident Evil 9 Requiem demo for public. I actually like this idea, and I know some games still kind of do like beta and like alpha kind of stuff. But I definitely feel like we need to like return to this idea of giving the public a demo of something, because then it's like trailers for movies to where then we can decide if we want to play the game or not. Yeah, Mr. Matthews, they're going to have to relax on the music copyright strike for that game. People are going to be streaming the heck out of it. Oh yeah. Yeah, they need to tone it back, but it's YouTube we're talking about. YouTube sucks. I hate them. So one of the biggest takeaways from Gamescom 2025 was the extended look at Resident Evil 9. Title not only brought a brand new trailer, but a demo from an early part of the game was also available to those present at the event. So the footage of the demo was released to the public. However, the demo is still exclusive to attendees of Gamescom. That could change soon as Capcom is considering releasing the Resident Evil 9 Requiem demo to the public. That'd be pretty sick. And rest in peace, that guy. Those Colts and paper bagging and then slitting the throat. I always seem to do that. Although, as scripture says, life is in the blood and they need it. The demo can give fans a taste of what to expect from the upcoming title. While the demo footage is available, playing it yourself would provide a more precise highlight of the mechanics and visuals. So in the interview with IGN, game director Koshi Nakanishi was asked if the demo would be made available to the public. He said that while nothing is confirmed yet, they are monitoring and taking feedback, so they'll decide accordingly. I feel like the answer would be yes. Why wouldn't you? Feedback on the demo from Gamescom has been quite positive. Those who played it hailed it for brilliant visuals and a much bigger focus on horror. So considering this, we won't be surprised if the demo does eventually come out. Director also discussed the title further. He talked about the huge stalking monster, but didn't mention Leon. All in all, Resident Evil 9 is shaping up to be an interesting prospect and something that could redefine the horror gaming genre. Well, I wouldn't say it. Come on. I feel we're at the point where, I don't know, this line is so cliched, redefining the horror gaming genre. It's like, I feel like everything's kind of been done at this point. It's just how you repackage it and sell it. But my biggest thing of wanting to read this is the fact of, I always thought demos are a good idea because, like I said, movies have trailers, and you see the trailer. If it entices you enough to go and see the movie, that's great. Same thing with how games should be. Like, remember back in the day, 360, PS3, where there were demos up to wazoo of all the games, even Resident Evil, what is it, 5? Those were the days. That's what we need to get back to. Because people got too used of like, we'll just make it good, and then if it sucks, we'll patch it later. Mr. Matthews. Yeah, exactly. I remember when Resident Evil 5 was supposed to redefine the horror genre too. It's like, I know, like, oh my gosh, like, dude, come on. What are you going to do? To me, at this point, redefining it is actually being able to, like, 100% being immersed in the game. Like, Sword Arts Online type sort of thing. We got virtual headsets and stuff, but, like, beyond that. We have another Resident Evil article, by the way, but I always try to space out the articles here. So hopping over to Video Game Chronicle here. Sony is reportedly planning a Nintendo Switch-style PlayStation 6 portable. Oh, thank you, Takahisha Kimura over on YouTube for the follow. Yeah, I saw this though. Apparently, Sony is planning a PlayStation 6 handheld with Nintendo Switch style television docking capabilities, it claims. That's according to Moore's Law is Dead, a YouTube channel. Moore's a YouTube channel that has previously leaked accurate technical info on PlayStation consoles before their announcements. In a new video, MLID shares specific technical specifications for the quote PS6 handheld, which will reportedly release alongside a traditional, more powerful PlayStation 6 home console, which it says is based on up-to-date documentation from graphic partners AMD. For Resident Evil 5, they wanted to have a light adjustment mechanic where your view would have to adjust as you went from a bright area into a dark one. They didn't actually do it in that game. Interesting. So notably, Moore's Law says it's seen multiple documents that directly call out that the planned PlayStation 6 portable can be docked like a Nintendo Switch, and claims that it will be capable of playing games natively at power exceeding that of the base PlayStation 5 when docked. Ooh. PlayStation 6 portable will reportedly feature an AMD APU featuring 4 Zen 6C cores and 2 further cores dedicated entirely to system tasks. In addition, PlayStation 6 is said to feature a 16 times RDNA 5 CU GPU clocked at 1.2 gigahertz, I'm assuming in handheld mode, and 1.65 gigahertz docked. And then he speculates, based on specification costs, that the PS6 handheld could retail for around $500 and release in late 2027. Mr. Matthews, I didn't describe that well at all. Don't worry. And me probably stuttering through that explanation didn't help at all either, which is all the more reason why one should like and subscribe, by the way, to this channel, because I provide nothing but peak professionalism here. I'm a ginger. I'm a super elite. I bring the best news of pop culture and retro to the internet in all shape and reality. And that's why you should like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel and help out in terms of providing more content, gameplay, and all that stuff, you can always check out membership and subscription tiers over on YouTube and Rumble. Right now, we're on YouTube, Rumble, and X, by the way. I decided not to do Twitch and Kick this time around simply because I don't really see anything in terms of like viewerships for the podcast. Gameplay, that's a whole nother thing. I'll still be live on the Big Five when it comes to gameplay. But we're back to just the 3 here. I don't know why I decided to do that, but I am. So Sony hasn't launched a native gaming handheld since the Vita in 2011. Portable accessory for PlayStation 5. PlayStation Portable was released in 23, but it's not capable of playing games natively. It was first reported by Reuters last year that Sony had contracted AMD to design and fabricate the PlayStation 6 chip due to the company's prioritization of backwards compatibility. Oh, man. Dude, if Sony wants to get back into the console race, make everything backwards compatible back to PlayStation, PSX, PS1, PlayStation. Dude, that would blow everything out of the water completely. But they're not going to do that because all the gaming companies want retarded subscriptions and all that stuff. AMD also created the custom system on a chip SoC for PlayStation 5 and PS5 Pro, and according to Reuters, this was a crucial point in Sony's decision for PlayStation 6. Sony discussed its future console strategy in a business segment meeting this summer, in which it said it was committed to, quote, exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with games, and that the future of the platform is top of mind. So while we cannot share further details at this stage, the future of the platform is top of mind, said SIE CEO Hideki Nishino. We are committed to exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with their content and services. I feel like literally the same thing was repeated in those little sections. But there you go. Supposedly, Sony's taken the concept of Switch style docking and all that and wants to give it a shot themselves. So the Netflix Devil May Cry series sucks. Sucks major ass. Devil May Cry 5 director thinks topping the game will be very hard and says he's proud of his work. So Hideki Itsuno, the developer credited for much of Devil May Cry's success, left Capcom last year. Following his departure, he began working on a completely original action IP, even hiring several veteran developers who had worked alongside him at Capcom. Since Hideki Itsuno's next release is set to be an action game, comparisons with Devil May Cry were inevitable, and the director was recently asked to comment on potential competition with his own work. He holds Devil May Cry 5 in high regards and believes competing with the title will prove to be a challenge. Devil May Cry 5 is widely considered one of the best modern action games. We're hearing one of the best. One of the best. Redefine the genre. All these titles. So upcoming titles are practically guaranteed to be compared with this release. When asked by Video Game Chronicle about his thoughts on competing with the future Devil May Cry releases, he stated that he remains very proud of his work on the last game. He believes that it may not even be possible to outdo his own work from 2019, but the director noted that he held a similar belief after Devil May Cry 4 was released. As such, the developer has shown an ability to outdo himself time and again. Devil May Cry 5, by large, is considered the pinnacle of the franchise. Although some diehard players prefer the core gameplay of past entries due to removed features like inertia and reversals, the general reception to this title was incredibly positive. This is why Itsuno believes it will be challenging to create something better. Anyhow, he remains excited to push action games to their limits again, and with various veterans developer by his side, the director might just be able to outdo himself. As for what's next from Devil May Cry, rumors suggest a remake is in the work as the next entry. Oh my gosh, come on. Yeah, they can't. They're like, yeah, we don't know what to do with this series anymore, so we'll just remake it. Oh my goodness. Capcom's plans remain a mystery for now, but the team is hard at work on season 2 of the recently released Netflix adaptation, which is insane on why they're going with a season 2, because that series flopped so hard because Adi Shankar, or whatever his name, straight up bastardized everything, and now he wants to bastardize other video game series like Duke Nukem and all that. He wishes the publisher good luck for future entries in the series. So on the last episode, we talked about how a lot of people are saying Unreal Engine 5 is having some problems in terms of handling games and stuff like that. However, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney apparently saying that the Unreal Engine 5 performance issues are mainly due to devs not optimizing properly. So the CEO of Epic Games has suggested that some platforms struggled to run Unreal Engine 5 games because developers aren't optimizing them properly. It's been suggested in recent years that Unreal Engine 5 demanding technical requirements can sometimes mean that running UE5 games on less powerful hardware can result in poor performance and sluggish gameplay. So Tim Sweeney, who created Unreal Engine in the first place, says the reason for this isn't necessarily the fault of the engine itself, but the way developers are using it. In a media roundtable interview during the latest Unreal Fest event in Seoul, South Korea, Sweeney was asked if Epic Games was doing anything to address the claims of optimization issues with Unreal Engine 5 games. So as reported by the Korean website This Is Game, he suggested that too many developers focus on making their games for the most powerful hardware, then try to optimize for less powerful systems at the end of the development process, causing issues. Primary reason why UE5's based games don't run smoothly on certain PCs or GPU is the development process, Sweeney explained via machine translation. Many developers develop games for high-end hardware and then perform optimization and testing on lower spec device in the final stage of development. Of course, optimization is by no means an easy task. It's a very challenging one. Ideally, optimization should be implemented early in development before full-scale content build begins. We are preparing two major solutions to address this issue. One is to strengthen the Unreal Engine support. Optimization will require significant manual effort, so we plan to provide automated optimization features for various devices, making the process faster and easy for developers. The other is to strengthen developer training, in addition to providing education on the overall testing and optimization process. It's crucial to raise awareness of the importance of early optimization. If necessary, our engineers can provide direct intervention to raise awareness of optimization techniques and provide technical assistance. However, compared to a decade ago, the complexity of games themselves have significantly increased, making optimization at the engine level a challenge. Consequently, game developers and engine developers like us are increasingly required to collaborate to solve these issues. We're actively incorporating the optimization technology and expertise we've accumulated while servicing Fortnite to Unreal Engine and are working diligently to ensure the game's running smooth, even on low spec PC. Maybe developers should stop trying to make everything so damn realistic and just make a good game, and that not everything needs to be so hyper realistic that you can see the little bubble fizzes inside of a drink beverage. I just like how this came off. It's like it's the developer's fault, not the engine. But I mean, we are seeing a lot of developers dropping the ball, so it very well could be. Okay, I said earlier that we had another Resident Evil article here, and we do. And that is the fact that apparently Resident Evil 9 features a third-person mode because Resident Evil 7 terrified the fandom, and that would be because you could go into first-person mode. It's regarded one of the scariest games in the series, mainly due to its immersive first-person perspective. With relentless jump scares, intense chases, and terrifying atmosphere, it delivered a horror experience unlike anything before. Resident Evil 9 is being designed to take horror to the next level. However, since not every player can endure that level of fear, Capcom has included a third-person mode. In short, the addition of the third-person Resident Evil 9 is mainly a response to how overwhelmingly scary Resident Evil 7 was for many players. No, you want to know what was scary? It's not just because Resident Evil 7 was in first-person mode. No, what was scary is when you played that in VR. I think a test was actually done, and people could only play like an hour's worth of that in virtual reality because people were freaking out about it. Then, of course, you have hardcore players who played the game so many times that the scares don't even faze them anymore. Not every player can handle such an intense level of horror, so a third-person option to tone down the experience makes total sense. Or do it like how you did back in the day where camera angles were fixed and you literally couldn't see what was like around the corner. You could hear the noise and knew you had to go through there, but it was like, oh boy. So speaking of Games Radar, Resident Evil 7 and 9 director Koshi Nakanishi revealed that the upcoming entry will include a third-person mode, as many players found RE7's first-person perspective too scary. So if you started the game off in first-person perspective and you're finding it too much, then third-person is always a way to step slightly back from that level of horror and make it slightly easier to deal with. Looking back at Resident Evil 7's first-person perspective, Nakanishi explained that it was designed to heighten immersion and amplify the fear factor, a move that worked brilliantly. However, the result was that some players found the experience terrifying. Hence, the director added a third-person option to ease the horror while keeping the game's essence intact. And then Resident Evil Requiem, featuring Grace as a protagonist, has drawn comparison with the likes of Silent Hill PT and is set to release on February 26th of 2026. And there you go. All right, so the big story going on is obviously the transgender who went on a murder spree in a Catholic school. We've seen the journal. His journal was uploaded. YouTube were a bunch of pussies and took it away, but people snagged everything before YouTube could take it down. Saw a lot of demon possessed writing inside of it. Even he himself seeing himself as a as a demon. Stephen King made a comment, of course, saying that, it wasn't his fault that he did all that. It was the gun's fault. Because guns can just magically sprout legs and start going around and murking people left and right. It's never the person behind the gun that's responsible. And yet, he done goofed up because apparently he admits transgender Catholic shooter is a man, calling him he on X. So yesterday was one of the greatest tragedies in American history, as a clearly mentally ill man who pretends to be a woman was allowed to access weaponry, and after insane YouTube warnings, committed one of the most egregious hate crimes in history by targeting Christian school children. Though most liberal pundits and pop culture ignore the situation entirely, Stephen King weighed in with a surprising take, admitting the man is, in fact, a man. Transgender school shooting spurred a lot of discussion yesterday on social media about the rampant proliferation of men pretending to be women and the push by liberal social elites to force us to accept them as women. It's very obvious that these individuals are mentally ill. Steven needs to stick to writing books, says Komanga. What's up, dude? And yes, this is true. But then again, I'd say no, because, he wrote that orgy in It with a bunch of those kids. So, never seems to want to answer the reasoning behind that. But in any case, it's very obvious that these individuals are all mentally ill. I'd say a lot of them are actually demon possessed. Because we've seen examples of that in scripture. Legion, unclean spirits, all that. Especially the ones that talk about they're multi-spirited. Transgender ideology is a very terrible ideology. I think out of everything, it's one of the worst ones that has ruined a lot of people's lives. The people that don't know better, that do it, that just want to fit in, it's quite disgusting. Mr. Matthews, Stephen King sticks to gender norms? Didn't see that coming. Me neither. Let's see exactly what happened. He probably was in such a tizzy about the whole we need gun control and stuff like that he just labeled him as what he actually was. So it's very obvious that these therefore tragedies waiting to happen if they don't get corrections, but the push continues in leftist circles to reshape society. I think a lot of people are actually waking up to this insanity. Because Christianity is outspoken against such degeneracy, as at the core of its transgenderism is a sexual fetish disguised as identity. Many transgender activists take on an irrational hate to Christians because they are aware that Christian living is at odds with their call for total acceptance of radical gender ideology. Well, and it's always Christianity too. It's never Muslim, Buddhism, and all that stuff. When a demon gets expelled and it wanders around, waterless areas and then gets mad and comes back, it brings a bunch of ones that are a lot evil. So, that's why. That's why all the other religions get a free pass. The transgender shooter goes by the name Robin Westman, posted insane rants on YouTube. There were clear warnings as to what was going to occur yesterday, but were completely ignored. Meanwhile, Minnesota's lieutenant governor has been seen wearing a t-shirt that says "Protect Trans Kids" with a knife that looks like it's a call for violence in a mask-off moment of what the left believes. Really? Gosh, Minnesota sucks. I feel like a lot of these things are like my home state, Illinois, where everything would be red if it wasn't for fucking Chicago. Many of the left's social media influencer celebrities class were silent on the matter yesterday. Of course they are. Of course they are. They would have spoken up immediately if it was elsewhere. But it was because it was, a Christian school. And it was done by a trans person that they're staying quiet. So they understand the obvious. Transgenderism is dangerous. They awaited talking points before posting anything. George Takei from Star Trek, usually very quick on the draw for social issues, waited until just this morning to post and try to ignore the identity and talk about this as if it were a random mass shooting. Posted to deflect from the real topic. We are the only developed country where mass shootings happening on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be this way. Well, if you're talking about mass shootings that happen at school and that's who commits them the most, it is actually transgenders, and then it's Asians, I believe. Like I have this like I was reading online and I found this statistic. It's very low, by the way, too. This is why they always point to these as sort of like the go-to of why they want to get rid of your Second Amendment rights. Even though there was a shooting that happened at a church as well, where the guy who stopped the person, followed him, was a American rifle, what? And was part of the NRA, was an instructor, had used an AR to fight to like shoot against the guy, and did everything by the book. You heard no one talked about that. I think that's the situation that happened where Biden said the stupid shoot him in the knee sort of thing, as if that's easy. I mean, I wish I was that good. Wish I was like, RoboCop and just calculate the ricochet and just get him. He's going to get canceled right now, along with J.K. Rowling now. Stephen King. Oh, man. Stephen King getting canceled would be amazing. So, yeah, George Takei. Schools, theaters, concerts, mall, churches, synagogue, mosque, parks, nightclubs, offices, festivals, stores, military base. Nowhere is safe from the scourge of gun violence in America. You can't tell me we must simply expect it. Nowhere is safe. I'll tell you what's safe. It's safe when my Second Amendment right allows me to carry a firearm. All the stuff that happens by the way, happen in blue areas. That's something they'll never talk about too. They'll try to point out, well, the state's red. Well, the population area is blue. That's what they don't want to tell you. How many criminals would get shot in the dick if you were a RoboCop grabber? Oh, dude, multiples. I would also solve the the serial graping that's happening, the gang graping. Don't need to chemically castrate them. Just shoot them in the dick. Dude, Butters, you don't shoot a guy in the dick. Mark Hamill from Star Wars, who always blames President Trump, regardless of the situation, said nothing. But most telling was the response of author Stephen King, who, like the other two influencers, seemed to have paid talking points from the DNC on every topic on the social media, to the point one might forget that he's a popular horror writer. Elon Musk chimed in on the topic yesterday, saying, "There's a clear pattern here," while retweeting Christy Nomi, who said, "We have confirmation that the shooter at the Annunciation Catholic school in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was a 23-year-old man claiming to be transgender. This deranged monster targeted our most vulnerable young children. They are valuable too. Young children praying in their first morning mass of the school year. This deeply sick murderer scrawled the words for the children and 'Where is your God?' which, funny enough, Psalms talks about that. David saying, 'With the sword in my rib and my enemy's reproach, saying, "Where is thy God?" And killed Donald Trump on a rifle magazine. This level of violence is unthinkable. Our deepest prayers are with the children, parents, families, educators, and Christians everywhere. We mourn for them, we pray for healing, and we will never forget them. Stephen King took to this Musk tweet and admitted what few liberals ever do, that the shooter is indeed a man. Though he was trying to gotcha Elon Musk, his admission is clear when he said, whether he was transgender is beside the point. The point is he had a gun. While it's a small post, this monumental, as liberals almost always respect pronouns of the people involved, and this marks one of the few occasions where a celebrity admits that this is indeed someone fantasizing and not actually becoming a woman, as they try to gaslight us with this entire time. See, they always have to be right in some way, shape, or form. That's how these people always work. They could call a bag of Cheetos Doritos, and you could show them to their face that, nope, this is a bag of Doritos, you're wrong. And they'll be like, well, not really, because I saw the color orange and Cheetos are orange, so therefore, I am kind of right. Like, this is the mental gymnastics that they do. So what do you think? Yeah, gaslight us the entire time. That's pretty much it. Pretty much, and then it just asks, what do they think of Stephen King? What do I think of Stephen King? I mean, Norm Macdonald has a good.
This guy must be a fag.
There. All righty. Cracker Barrel. So I have some Cracker Barrel info. We kind of talked about it yesterday, and that they did go back to the old logo. It comes from that Park Place. Goes back to its old logo. Apparently Trump pushed back. I don't think it was just Trump's tweet about it that did it. I think a lot of people did it. A lot of people had a hand in reverting it back to what it should be. So it is announced that it's gone back to its old logo after getting pushed back from President Trump online. Cracker Barrel just learned a very expensive lesson in branding. Don't mess with nostalgia and don't underestimate your customers. After unveiling a new modernized gay logo right here earlier this month, the restaurant chain faced swift backlash from loyal patrons, investors, and eventually Trump himself. Company announced it would scrap the redesign on this was on Tuesday and restore its traditional logo, complete with the old country store heritage and the iconic imagery fans have come to expect. So on August 19th, it rolled out what happened to be what it hoped to be a fresh direction of its image. The rebrand featured a pared down logo with a simplified barrel design, the name Cracker Barrel in plain lettering, and the removal of the old country store from the emblem. Missing entirely was the beloved Uncle Herschel figure that for decades embodied the company's rustic down-home feeling. Pitched the redesign as part of its All the More campaign, a modernization strategy meant to signal growth and evolution. But instead of energizing the brand, the move sparked immediate outrage online. Customers described the logo as soulless, corporate, out of touch. Investors weren't impressed either. In fact, one of the investors revealed that this was warned that something was going to happen like a good while, and the CEO, Julie Messiani or whatever her name is, just straight up ignored it because she's scum. She's the one that also ruined Taco Bell, by the way. And so as you can see, what may have remained a branding misstep has soon turned into a cultural flashpoint. Conservative commentators, public figures hammered the company for what they saw as yet another attempt to sanitize tradition in favor of corporate conformity. And look how much of their shares and market values went down. Oof. Byron Donald, a rising Republican voice, tied his own life story at Cracker Barrel, stressing how deeply the brand resonated with families and communities. Donald Trump Jr. also weighed in, calling the redesign part of a broader trend of woke corporate nonsense. And I heard someone talk about, like, there's supposedly a theory that the reason why you're seeing all this these rebrandings kind of being the same is so that they can kill, whatever is considered Americana, that patriotism sort of thing. And so that they can just get replaced and then they're easy just to bounce back and forth because the branding is so like plain and barren. So there's the tweet right there by Trump. Writing on Truth Social, Trump told Cracker Barrel to go back to the old logo, calling consumer pushback the ultimate pull and suggesting the company could turn this into $1 billion worth of free publicity if it handled the moment correctly. His comments, like so many in today's political climate, went viral and amplified the pressure on the brand. This could have been one big elaborate marketing scheme. This is very true, but the way that they lost a bunch of stock and value, I don't feel like it would have been worth the gamble, but I have heard people talk about this. And I kind of don't believe it too, because again, the CEO who was trying to push this did the same thing to Taco Bell, and look how Taco Bell is now. So I don't feel like this was an elaborate marketing scheme personally, but could be wrong. So by Tuesday, the company caved in a formal statement. Cracker Barrel admitted the redesign was a mistake, confirmed that the old logo will remain the face of the brand. We heard your customers, the company said. Your voice reminds us who we are and who we'll always be. We're keeping our traditional logo or old country store name, and yes, uncontroversial will stay on our menu. Now, some people were concerned that it was just the logo going back, and then they'll hoping that it'll be a big of a smoke screen that they can then continue the soullessness of like the interior and stuff like that. The move was greeted with applause online, particularly among longtime fans of the chain who had threatened boycott in recent days. Shares of Cracker Barrel rebounded by 4 to 6% after the reversal, easing some of the investors' concerns triggered by the ill-fated brand. This wasn't just a marketing stumble, it was a cultural flashpoint in an age where brands are increasingly expected to balance tradition with modernization. Cracker Barrel discovered the hard way that tampering with the company's identity came across as abandoning its roots. And then this is a person that pretty much ruined it or almost ruined it. Points out the Bud Light's infamous controversy. There's no word yet on whether our CEO, Julie Feles Massino, will face any repercussion for leading the company into turmoil in the first place. Yeah, she should get fired and should never be able to touch any sort of rebranding crap again. Cracker Barrel now finds itself at a crossroads after this logo fiasco. The company clearly wants to attract younger demographics and refresh its brand for the future, but this episode shows that longtime customers want stability, not change. It's called that the old-time customers who are old now are probably going to take their kids there, and through that, their kids will learn to appreciate Cracker Barrel and then probably do the same thing. That's how it works, and that's how it did work. And that's how it was working. Like back where I was, and I think it's kind of a Midwestern sort of thing, there was something similar we had that was called the Machine Shed, exactly like Cracker Barrel. Had that old time Americana feeling, homemade scratch food. Though, obviously it's a big chain now, so it's probably not as homemade, homemade anymore. But yeah, pretty much they learned the hard way. They didn't want stupid, sleek lines and minimalist design. They wanted Uncle Herschel, peg games on the table, and the promise of country comfort. However, with that being said, I think this just got announced too. Robbie Starbuck claims Cracker Barrel boycott has achieved total victory. So, cultural and corporate activist Robbie Starbuck recently claimed that a boycott of Cracker Barrel has achieved total victory. In a post on X, Starbuck reacted to news that Cracker Barrel is ending its funding for pride events and the woke propaganda it had on its website, as well as changing its employee resource group. He posted, "Huge. Our movement has achieved total victory once again. Our boycott against Cracker Barrel has resulted in them ending funding for pride events, removing woke propaganda from their sites, changing their ERGs, and changing their logo back." He then shared a statement that Cracker Barrel issued to Fox News. "In connection with the company's brand work, we have recently made updates to the Cracker Barrel website, including adding new content and removing of out-of-date content. Several months ago, the company also made changes to our business resource groups that now focus all sponsorships or events on our corporate giving initiatives, addressing food insecurity, supporting communities' needs through food, and reducing food waste." And this is really what a business should be. Don't cater to a specific group of people. Don't cater, if you're going out to be a brand community, like include everyone. That's just a given. And don't show favorites and stuff like that. If you're wanting to be a corporate sort of thing. Now, if you're a business that's based on faith and stuff, that's also protected too. Just like if LGBT stores want to be out there, they can do that as well. But we all know how the LGBT community wants to infiltrate and demand that they need a special spot in the company in some way, shape, and form. That's why they went after, cake bakers and all that stuff, and why Cracker Barrel had stuff like that. But apparently, the backlash not only got the logo back, but it got rid of all that nonsense too. Movement is So powerful that even I can't believe it sometimes. While the media credits me with these wins, we all know the truth. These companies don't fear me, they fear US. I'm just blessed to be your megaphone and a pretty damn relentless researcher. Until next time, fight the good fight and never back down from doing what's right. Hey, that rhymed. Wonder if he makes a rhyme every time. Starbucks' claim of total victory comes a day after he noted that Cracker Barrel was still funding LGBTQ plus and DEI initiatives, publicly broadcasted it on their website. He wrote, Cracker Barrel still proudly has their LGBTQ and DEI page on their website. They haven't even said they'll end funding for all ages pride events. They don't deserve your money for fixing the logo. Thank you for your attention to this matter. In fact, he predicted that Cracker Barrel might try to weasel its way out, making any significant changes while just changing the logo back. Yep, that's what a lot of people were kind of worried about too. Previously wrote, prediction, Cracker Barrel X are hoping that changing the logo back will bring customers back, and they don't want to address the DEI pride funding issue. This won't work. They'll have an awful earnings report, and firings will begin. Eventually, they'll have to end it all. Dang. While Starbucks is claiming total victory, it does not appear that Cracker Barrel has made any fundamental changes to its leadership or personnel. The ones who initially changed the logo and began using the company's funds to promote and fund LGBTQ plus and DEI initiatives. Time will tell if Cracker Barrel sticks with these new changes or not, or if it's all just a bunch of PR in an attempt to deflect from the immorality they were engaging in promoting. Furthermore, one has to wonder if the damage has already been done. Well, there you go, Mr. Matthews. There's someone else who thinks that could be possible. It was just a bunch of PR. All right, we're on our last article here. Oh, by the way, I mentioned on the past stream about 4chan, like pretty much telling the UK to piss off and don't invade on us. 4chan is suing the UK government over their speech laws. And this is the opening page, and you can actually find the full courthouse, like the full filing here in the comments. But this is just hilarious. 4chan Community Support LLC and Lolcow LLC, DBA Kiwi Farms plaintiffs versus the UK Office of Communications. Amazing. What a name for a case. Plaintiffs 4chan Community Support LLC and Lolcow LLC through their undersigned counsel allege and say as follows for the complainant against defendant OFCOM. The internet is a global system of communications between computer servers located in data centers around the world. Despite the internet's global reach, it is more or less universally acknowledged that the internet is predominantly an American innovation built by American citizens, residents, and companies, and that the United States has the largest and most thriving technological sector of any G7 member state. Foreign governments, particularly those in Europe, which have not managed to build technology sectors of their own, have for the past half decade or more, sought to control the American internet and hobble American competitiveness through a range of legislative and non-legislative innovations. These foreign governments have threatened America and other non-European entrepreneurs with a wide range of coercive threats, including fines, arrests, and imprisonment for engaging in conduct which is perfectly lawful in the territories where their website are based. Ouch. What an introduction. I just wanted to point that out real quick because that is funny. Oh, man, that would be so amazing. But like I said, you can find the full content, I believe, full filing right here in the comments. So our last thing has to do with Harry Potter. I actually liked the Harry Potter franchise. It was something I connected with my mom throughout the series when it first came out back in '99. We read it together. I read it, she would read it, we would talk about it, and then we saw all the movies together. It was our time. Well, the director who did the first movies, Chris Columbus, says he's done with Harry Potter and calls J.K. Rowling controversy very sad. So Chris Columbus has taken a stance against J.K. Rowling and in turn Harry Potter. The director of the first two Harry Potter films and producer of the third has zero interest in joining HBO's upcoming small screen reboot. No, I've done it. You saw my vision, Columbus told Variety during a London visit promoting his Netflix film Thursday Murder Club. There's nothing left for me to do in the world of Potter. Oh, jeez. Despite having no interest in joining in, Columbus is far from critical of the reboot. In fact, he sees it as an opportunity to explore storylines the film simply couldn't fit in. With the first and second and third book, we wanted to do it all, he said. We just didn't have the opportunity. He pointed to Peeves, the mischievous poltergeist from the first book who never made it onto screen, A tense sequence where Harry and Hermione must drink potions while worrying they may be poisoned. Scenes like these, Columbus believes, will finally get their moments on the small screen. There's a sense of excitement that can bring all those scenes to life, he said, noting that seeing Nick Frost as Hagrid and Dominic McLaughlin as Harry shooting in London gave him a nostalgia deja vu. It was exactly where we were 20 years ago. It's amazing to see a new generation bring these characters in life in ways we could only imagine. He also reflected on the original cast journey, particularly Daniel Radcliffe. During his experience on Home Alone, he said protecting young actors were top priority. We knew the eyes of the world would be on these three kids. Thankfully, they had wonderful parents who helped them deal with what I can't even imagine the pressures are of suddenly your face being everywhere. So watching Radcliffe grow into a Tony Award-winning actor brought him pride. Seeing him on stage, seeing how incredibly talented he is as a musical comedic actor was just very moving for me. Praised Emma Watson, Rupert Grint for their continued careers. But then he addressed the ongoing controversy surrounding Harry Potter J.K. Rowling's, author J.K. Rowling, who comments on gender issues have drawn widespread criticism. He emphasized separating art from artists while expressing sadness over the situation. I like to sometimes separate the artist from the art. It's unfortunate what happened. I certainly don't agree with what she's talking about, but it's just sad. It's very sad. Columbus said he also hinted that seeing all the little details long omitted from the films finally get their moment may be thrilling for audiences old and new alike. So we just read that, but there's another article that came from that Park Place to where he also blasts, he then apparently blasts the HBO reboot. What's the point? The original Harry Potter director is speaking out about HBO's big budget reboot, and his words are raising eyebrows across fandom. So he is openly questioning why Warner Brothers is treading old ground. After seeing leaked set photos of Nick Frost as Hagrid in the upcoming series, Columbus bluntly asked, "What's the point?" And this Hagrid is terrible because his size and stature for being a half giant, he needs to be rugged, husky, a little bit thicker. And this is just like some thin, lanky, tall guy that they're trying to say, look, he's big and he's husky and stuff by giving him, by trying to hide it with his long hair and his long beard. And yet his clothes are really his clothes are very loose and baggy. It looks terrible. I think it looks terrible. The comment strikes at the heart of a debate that has dogged this project from day one. Whether fans really need a retelling of J.K. Rowling's novels just 20 years after the original films became a worldwide phenomenon. I think it'd be nice to see a more book-accurate film like it advertised a long time ago, but apparently not anymore. Mr. Matthews says, I can't believe how much they have vilified Rowling. She's a bitch, but she has literally donated all of her money to women in need. I guess that doesn't matter, though. This is true, but you got to remember that even though she is based on the whole transgenderism sort of thing, she is still very liberal. So we can't forget about that. But yeah, it's that is a dog eat dog circle. Doesn't matter if you agree on a bunch of things but disagree on another. You've got to agree 100% all the time. This is the insanity that is the woke hive mind. So he reacted to the Harry Potter reboot after spotting images of Frost and what he immediately recognizes the same Hagrid costume and his team designed for Robbie Coltrane in 2001. Part of me was like, what's the point? I thought everything was going to be different, but it's more of the same, he explained. It's very flattering for me because I'm like, that's exactly the Hagrid costume that we designed. So part of it is really exciting, but part of it is sort of deja vu all over again. In other words, flattering but uninspired. Columbus essentially suggested that the new series risks becoming a carbon copy of his films, minus the originality. Costume decision, something as visual as and iconic as Hagrid's enormous overcoat, only deepened the sense of repetition. Yeah, and his oversized overcoat looks terrible on him. Looks more green, too, than brown. Columbus also made clear he has no plans to return to Hogwarts in any professional capacity. And we read this already. He's done his vision, he's seen that. And then he went on to congratulate everybody else. Be fair, Chris Columbus isn't dismissing the Harry Potter reboot outright. He acknowledges the series format does allow for greater fidelity to Rowling's books. Whole subplots like Peeves the Poltergeist, potion sequence cut for time can finally get their moment. Still, his "what's the point" remark lingers as a critique of Warner Brothers' larger creative strategy. For a reboot looks identical to what's already been done, fans will naturally ask why hundreds of millions of dollars are being poured into retreading the same visual and costume. Is it nostalgia or corporate repetition? Warner Brothers Discovery has banked heavily on its Harry Potter reboot, with the Fantastic Beasts spin-off trilogy flopping. Executives turned back to the source material as a safe option. But Columbus's candid statement exposes the risk. Nostalgia can quickly curdle into fatigue if there's no fresh perspective. Exactly. So when the person who brought the first three movies to the big screen, the questioning is it's questioning the value. It feeds into skepticism from fans who never asked for the Harry Potter reboot in the first place. Very true as well. What does this mean for HBO? Desperately needs Harry Potter series to succeed, although I believe they failed because they hired Papa, whatever the guy is, as Snape, even though Snape is not black. The company is betting that long-form streaming television can't hurt Hogwarts into a multi-season juggernaut, but Columbus's blunt words are a PR headache. Skepticism plants doubts not only with casual audience, but also with diehard fans who remember the awe of the original film. Hollywood has been through the cycle before. Remakes and reboots often arrive with promises of faithfulness and refreshness, only to collapse under accusations of creative bankruptcy. The early signs of Columbus is correct suggest that this Potter project might be treading the same dangerous path. Yep. When he says, "What's the point of the Harry Potter reboot?" it's more than an offhand remark. It's a challenge to Warner Brothers Discovery and HBO. If you're going to reboot Harry Potter, prove why it deserves to exist. Right now, audiences are seeing little more than deja vu. The same Hagrid coat, the same set, same images we all fall in love with 2 decades ago. That's not innovation, it's imitation. And coming from the man who first turned Rowling's world into cinematic history, that warning should not be ignored. For fans who grew up with the books and the films, his voice carries weight. If the reboot can't convince them it has something new to say, one has to wonder, will it convince the millions of viewers who already bought their tickets to Hogwarts the first time around? And there you go, folks. That is all that I have for you tonight. It is fun. And with this, we'll go ahead and see what games. We'll wrap up the night here and see what games came out today and tomorrow over on GameFAQs. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. All that fun stuff. If you want to help the channel, check out membership tiers, subscription tiers, super chats, all that stuff. Oh my goodness gracious. Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, was released 38 years ago. Ooh, Command & Conquer Red Alert. I like Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 and Yuri's Revenge. Ooh, Mario Tennis. I love the Mario Tennis series. Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny, Blue Dragon. Great game. I actually played that not long ago. Simon's Quest. I know. It's where the nerd grew. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Heroes. Wild Arms 5. I actually liked Wild Arms. I need to continue the Wild Arms series. Guild Wars 2, Madden NFL 13, Ratchet and Clank Collection. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater came out today, which got rid of some jiggle physics, but I'm sure modders on PC will fix it. Not a bad list. Really solid list today. Really good one. Tomorrow, we got Gemfire, Valkyrie Profile, Ever 17, The Out of Infinity. Ooh, Sword of Mana. That's actually a really good Game Boy Advance game as well. Tales of Symphonia. Mario Superstar Baseball. Oh, Saints Row. There you go. Xenosaga 3. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle. Got a One Piece Grand Adventure. Mario Tennis bring back so many memories, says Komanga. I know. I love the Mario Tennis series. This is a pretty solid list today, too. This name kind of looks familiar. Disgaea 2, Dark Hero Days, but I'm not sure. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I actually heard that game's pretty good. Pokemon Masters EX. Visions of Mana. I don't know. I don't think that game did too well because I don't remember hearing it. But there you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks again for hanging out. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. With that being said, let's see if we can do some redirecting. Oh, let's be nice. Tiny Panda Face is online over on Rumble. So we'll raid her. What's up, Ted Cruz, Zodiac Killer? The Simon's Quest Doom mod remake is the shit. Never actually played the original. They did make a Simon's Quest redacted that like fixed a lot of the stuff and made the accurate translation. So that's a good one. But good to see you, Ted Cruz, Zodiac Killer over on Rumble. Always love that name. With that being said, we'll be wrapping up here. Let's see. We will raid Vara over on YouTube and then Tiny Panda Face over on Rumble. So catch you guys later. We will continue Dragon Ball Z The Legend tomorrow. Finally, super happy that we got an English translation of that game. So we started playing it before. We'll continue it. Don't miss out. Either 8, 9 p.m. Central Time. Turn on notifications. Get notified when I go live. This time we'll be live on the Big Five, YouTube, Rumble, X, Kick, and Twitch. So you guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. God bless. Catch you on the flip side. See ya.